Today we have a very, very special car, which happens to be, I was speaking to who you're going to meet just now, and he was saying this is his dream car and this is also my dream car. So this car is very, very special to me. We're here in the one and only Dodge Challenger that's in Grenada. It's a RT, it's a RT Scat Pack. RT Scat Pack, 6.4 liters V8. We're in a bad machine today, and we're going to get to meet the owner, get to know who he is, and get just a little history on himself, and then we get to meet the machine itself. So, Mr. Nigel, again, I take two.
Take two. Good to be on your channel.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure to have you here. So, just tell us who is Mr. Nigel?
Oh, Nigel is West Indian, born in Grenada, to Caribbean parents, lived and worked all throughout the Caribbean my entire life, studied, never really lived outside the Caribbean. People describe me as Caribbean through and through, so I've been blessed with a life that I could stay inside of the Caribbean and be able to do the things that I want to do with my life. So
awesome. And I saying this here is my co-worker on where we work, and I saw the car on the port, and being a car person, we get little insights and so on. We have a Challenger on the port, and I say, to me, the first thing that came to mind was maybe they raised the car to move our next car or something. So, and then not too long again, I think the next day, the car on the road with Grenada plates. I said, nah, somebody have it now. And then lo and behold, we go to work. I go to work, and guess what I saw? Saw the Challenger packed in the yard, not knowing that it was my co-worker's zone. And now we're inside it here, sitting down, and imagine we are in a manual. And a lot of people don't expect that, but we're in a manual, a Challenger.
I told Ray I felt very insulted.
I didn't mean
I might halfway commit and do an automatic. I don't know why he thought that about me.
But I'm really sorry. I didn't even know he had manual in Challengers.
They only the V8s get the manual.
I'm going to do more research.
So about the car we're in, this is a 2016 Dodge Challenger Scat Pack, and for people old enough to remember, what really got these things going were shows like Pimp My Ride, and that generation of shows that really got what they call the retro mod movement going again, which is taking older cars and giving them modern technology like modern brakes, modern suspension, modern fuel injection systems. So that whole retro mod movement. And then by the time, when the first Fast and Furious movie came out, that just threw gasoline on the retro mod movement with Dom's Charger, and it just took off from there. So mainstream car companies then got on board wanting to cash in on this whole craze for retro mod, and you saw Volkswagen bring back the Beetle and Ford bring back the Thunderbird. The Mustang never really went away, and then Chevy came back out with the Camaro, and then they made the Camaro Bumblebee, and more moment, and it just went another level again. And then Dodge came out with the Challenger, and it was a 3-horse race for a number of years. This particular car is a family of cars in the Dodge family. Chrysler 300, the new Dodge Charger, which is a 4-door, which is different from Dom's 2-door, and this one, which is the Challenger, all on the same platform. They got suspension and chassis components from Mercedes during the time when Mercedes was in control of Dodge. So there's some stuff under here that's from 2000s era Mercedes in terms of the design. And they did the Challenger. So they did the first new version, which came out around 2008, 2009. And it was a 3.6 liter engine, what they call a Pentastar V6, automatic only. 5.7 V8 manual, and then they initially had, it was a 6.1 V8, which is the top of the range, and then that engine got massaged and improved to the years, so now where it is at 6.4. So V8s exclusively got the manual only. They could make the business case because the real reason is that people just don't buy manuals. So companies have to really pick and choose what cars they put them in, because well over 90% of cars people don't buy manual.
It's automatic.
Right. So the Challenger was the only one of the cars in that whole group, the Chrysler 300, the Charger. Only the Challenger got the V8. Only the Challenger got the manual, and it was only the V8s in the Challenger that got the manual. In terms of choosing, funny enough, my first choice was actually the Ford Mustang.
Okay.
The issue with me and Ford and the Mustang were two things. One, they don't give the Mustang a sunroof, and I'm big on sunroof. And the Dodge, I love the retro mod look, I love the old school look. I always describe it as the type of car I would build for myself if I had an unlimited budget. Something that looks like it was made before I was born, that has modern brakes, modern suspension, that type of thing, because those classic cars, they look beautiful. They will scare the hell out of almost any driver if you try driving them for real. But those 1960s brakes and 1960s suspension, most drivers think they can handle it until they have to deal with it on the road. So that was the whole thing. And for me, I always have a preference of daily driving my cars. I think one of the big issues that you run into with sports cars and gives people trouble, and they don't realize why, is that they don't get driven often enough. They spend so much time parked up. And when the engine isn't run regularly, when the non-metal parts aren't warmed up and run regularly, you're always going to end up with more issues. So that's more of a personal preference and me giving you reasons why I would prefer daily driver. The Challenger is a bona fide, no BS 5-seater car. You can actually put 5 grown people in this car. 5 seat belts, very nice trunk. So other than being on small roads, sometimes it feels like you're trying to thread a needle with rope. Other than that, it is actually a very comfortable daily drive. I think most people would be shocked how comfortable it is. And the best metaphor for this car I've ever heard, and I'll tell anybody, it is a working man's BMW 6 Series. Picture BMW 6 Series, but they gave it a stick, gave it a V8. That's kind of what American muscle cars are about, giving you that Grand Tourer, European Grand Tourer type of car, but with some American style, some American sound.
Some American feel to it.
Yes. So, people sometimes look at this and they're expecting some kind of raw, and you can make it like that. But what really sets them apart is they make very comfortable daily drivers. AC works. The other thing, as I was telling you earlier, the other thing about the Dodge that's a great selling point, this is a big and tall man's car.
Yes.
A lot of sports cars, if you're more than 6 feet,
you've seen trouble to be
or more than 200 pounds, that seated position can create some issues for you. But I can sit behind myself with this driver's seat the way it is. I can get in behind.
Yes, I've seen that for myself, and somebody much taller could feel comfortable too.
Yes. So that is the car. The Scat Pack in the range has changed slightly over the years, so you have to be careful with the name, because Scat Pack in 2016 is not the exact same thing as Scat Pack in 2024, because they've been making changes to the model lineup and the names over the years. And as of 2024, no more internal combustion engine Challenger. This for the time being will be the last ones with V8. This particular refresh, this particular one was the refresh that they did in 2015. From 2015 onwards, they did a styling refresh. Taillights a bit different. They upgraded the dash, made it much nicer. And so that was a major consideration in holding on to it. The realization that, boy,
there would never be another.
If I change my mind, it's gonna be harder and harder to get. Because now that they've stopped making them, it's like all those that have been made, that's what they are. So
It's a good thing you got it now, because maybe who tell by next year now that price will be so high.
Well, not quite now. One of the things I probably didn't say earlier, this is 2016. I actually got this in 2017, where I was living and working before. I had it all through then, and then moved back to Grenada, and the decision was, bring it or get rid of it.
You said you got this in 2017?
Yeah, it's a 2016 model. I've had this since 2017.
So
it's just new to Grenada, not new to me.
That you had this car for a good while.
Yeah, 6 going on 7 years. It's just about the longest I've ever kept. The only thing I've ever kept longer than this is a pickup truck, and it's gonna pass this soon. So yes, so what you're seeing in here, ladies and gentlemen, is over 6 years of TLC. He doesn't imagine that someone been owning and driving this for over 6 years. But yes, this is
wow,
daily driven.
Yeah,
daily driven. But I truly believe you end up getting a better experience when the car is driven every day. You get to learn it better. You get to understand how it runs better, and
you get to.
Not everybody's lifestyle is going to allow for that. That's just how life is. But there's real benefit to driving the car regularly. I think that's the biggest supercar problem that people don't talk about.
That's true.
20-something years old, just 5,000 miles.
Yeah, just sit down in a garage to take pictures.
Exactly, months and months and months. And invariably, when you hear them talking about issues, you're hearing about non-metal parts, seals in the fuel system, radiator system.
Okay, just sit on
there. Exactly.
Yeah.
So you end up having quite a bit of work to keep that mileage down, because the old car needs to be started up and warmed and run it.
And that's what they make the engine for.
Yes.
There's no engine that's made to just sit on.
Correct. Yeah, that's the trade-off when you don't drive every day. It's really a struggle to keep it in good working condition.
Yes.
So anything else about the car that you think you might want to know?
I think you told us everything. We even got history, much more than we that we even knew. I wouldn't say even. Everything you told me is news to me.
Yeah, okay.
Including owning the car for over 6 years.
But wonderful. The age we live in, you don't have to take my word for anything. You can always go online and research the car yourself and find out all these different things about it. But so that's kind of like the short story version of what we're in today. More about the engine. One of the reasons why they can make American muscle cars cheaper than like other cars with similar amount of horsepower is they share engines with the American trucks. These are basically truck engines. Yes. So this is a 6.4 liter V8, and it's fundamentally the same type of engine that was in the different Dodge pickup truck and
F-150s and so on.
No, F-150 is Ford. The Dodge is there's the Ram, and there's the Ram 1500, and
the TRX
it has a supercharged. It's a supercharged. This is not a supercharged version. This is scary enough for me. Someone with more skill and money than me can deal with a supercharged one. But yeah, it's basically the Hellcat engine. It's basically that 6.2 supercharged V8 that goes in the TRX and all the other different names they call it. Yeah. So that's the truck engine. Brembo brakes, because these cars are also fairly heavy. So the stopping performance isn't as good as you'd expect for something with Brembo, but you have to keep in mind this car weighs over 4,000 pounds. It's about 700 pounds of engine sitting on that front wheel, on that front axle. So
you must have good brakes.
So you need those brakes. The Brembos, I believe, are also exclusive to the V8s, and then there's a spec above this called the SRT, which gets the 6-piston red Brembos. Those would have been nice to get, but that car is I couldn't afford it. It's significantly higher than this. So that's it. The brakes, everything is stock except for the panel filter. It's a K&N panel filter, but basically everything else is stock. Clutch got changed at about 50,000. The clutch itself wasn't gone. There was a bearing in the gearbox that had worn out and it started to rattle. And the mechanic told me, you have to drop the gearbox to get it. I said, if you drop in the gearbox,
Just change
let's deal with everything.
Yeah, so by the time anything happen, you don't change already.
Yeah.
No, we don't going back.
Yeah.
So you have any plans of doing any modifications, or you're just keeping it stuff?
Modifications are for people with more money.
Oh, understood.
I have a background in engine design, and one of the things that I learned through that experience, once you get into modifying, what you're going to end up with is a never ending to do this, because people who built these cars, they modify too. They're in the hobby as well. So all the compromises in here about promoting longevity or meeting emissions, there's the people didn't build the car this way because they didn't know better. They built it this way to serve a particular purpose, to be driven every day and to meet regulations. So once you get into modifying, it's a lot of work, a lot of things you have to keep pace with, a lot of compromises, because once you up the power, it's everything else has to eventually be worked on to cope with it, or you live with the issues of things not lasting as long and that kind of thing.
So, Mr. Nigel, you told us, like as I said, you schooled us today. You brought us back to school, and you gave us a lot of food for thought, a lot of knowledge, and so on. And I realized you just look like a very smart fella, but you have that knowledge, especially when it comes to vehicle and so on. You're working on a wealth of knowledge, you know that?
Well, it just comes from the passion, and it didn't come from me alone. A lot of as we were discussing making this video, a lot of people would have introduced me to the hobby and encouraged me in the hobby and taught me a lot of things in different parts of the Caribbean. Being here, seeing what Champ is doing with Supras, people outside of Grenada know who that man is. They know that name.
That's true.
Because of what he's been able to do with Supras. The Dabrio brothers, for all the work they've done, rest in peace, Dabs. And this, that man. That guy was very, very good to me anytime I came to Grenada. Because, for a while, born here but didn't grow up here for a while. And he was one of those people, always welcome to his garage, teach you about Rotary was his thing. He was the Rotary man in Grenada for a while. And so you all these people, and you get encouragement from them, and you learn things from them, and it helps. It wasn't just me alone did this kind of thing. Not at all.
And just before we go, as I was saying, just like, let's say you have young ones, who are inspired, because the way how I feel in, you're bringing back the child in me who first fell in love with the Challenger, and I know I wouldn't be the only one who would be so excited. Just maybe even go back and watch this video. So just give maybe the young ones a little advice, on in life per se, as it relates to the automotive industry, or maybe even owning a Challenger.
Okay, well, let's start with this. All over the world, including Grenada, there is a desperate shortage of technical people. People that are into things like electrical, mechanical. There's a desperate shortage of it all over the world. It's not just a Grenada issue. The thing about a modern car, even a regular passenger car, is that it is the most technologically advanced thing that the average person on the street can get their hands on. And there's almost every type of technical skill to learn and find out about in a car. From the electronics, to the engine, to the transmission, suspension, paint, glass, upholstery. There's a whole university of technical things to learn in a car. So if you happen to have that passion, and you discover you have the talent for it, then chances are you might be able to make a career out of it. You just have to figure out what part of it is going to suit your circumstances best.
And as you were saying that, what came to mind is that each of this area could be a specialty.
Yes.
And you could, as you say, pursue it as a career and move forward in life. And
well,
so on.
The people who build these cars, the companies who build these cars, these are all the different types of people they need to do this. It's not one person that's able to do all of these different things. Each one is its own skill set, its own specialty, and whether you stay in Grenada or you leave or you go outside of Grenada, it's something that people need all over the world. People
That is true.
need people who can work on engines, you need people who can work on transmission, you need people who understand how they work
That is true.
and can keep them going. And we're going into an age where cars are becoming more and more electronic. So the days of you can fix a car with just a wrench, those days are probably never coming back.
Yeah.
Someone asked me a few years ago, am I concerned about electric cars coming into the Caribbean and our ability to fix them? You know what my answer to them was? Imagine what it will mean for the people who do learn how to fix them. What kind of opportunity that's going to be for them.
That's
If you
exactly-
happen to have the talent to know how to fix an electric car, think about what that's going to mean for you.
Exactly.
10, 15 years going down the road. As it's going on, someone has to fix them. So,
And it's basically like how I see it. I love the combustion engine. I love the sound of combustion engine. But basically, it's where the world heading now. So it's like basically evolving. You go from fixing a combustion engine to getting yourself acquainted with the electrical engine to fix the electrical engine, and you just evolve yourself into that area. And persons there in that field, like if you have that knowledge now, imagine as you say the 15 years from now, you know how far you go reach.
well, it's not just that. Combustion engines aren't going to just magically disappear.
That's true. Yep. So, Mr. Nigel, as I said, you gave us a lot of knowledge today, and I just want to thank you so much for one, giving us the opportunity to take you away from a busy schedule, you know, to get this shoot done, and being so open with us, and just being so cool. It's like you just be, you know, how you are with us is like is one of a good partner, you know, and
I appreciate the welcome.
I'm very, very appreciative of that also. So, bro,
Thank you for having me. Good luck.
thank you so much.
Just have to back off the clutch and because it has so much torque. It doesn't require much of. Just make sure and stay on your side. Sure. Clear on my side. Yeah, there's one stop. Don't worry about it. Let's try and stay as close to the